You know what's better than $1,000,000? A cajillion dollars. I'm so stupid. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and today I'm diving into Kajillionaire, the latest film starring Gina Rodriguez and Evan Rachel Wood. Yes, Evan Rachel Wood from Westworld. Guys, this movie is definitely not your traditional coming-of-age type film. It's definitely got some funny moments and very awkward moments as well. This is a movie that you have to come in with proper expectations, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And if you enjoyed coming-of-age movies kind of like Lady Bird, I think there's something in here for you to love. Now, before I get into what worked with Kajillionaire and what didn't work, if it's your first time here at the channel, guys, welcome to Real James. I review movies, I go ahead and watch TV shows, and I tell you if it's worth your time or not. So if you want to hear way more of this, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to tap on the bell just to stay up to date with anything new. This week is going to be so much fun. I have my Legend of Korra reactions dropping on Tuesday and Thursday. I have my review for Enola Holmes coming this week as well, and a lot more, guys. It's going to be fun, but it's going to be busy. And if you haven't already, smash that like button and get loud in the comments below, guys. Let me know, are you excited for this film? Have you heard of this movie? And are you going to watch it this weekend? Alrighty, so let's get right into Kajillionaire, directed and written by Miranda July. She's a very young filmmaker in the game, and she has the luxury in this film of working with Evan Rachel Wood, Richard Jenkins, Debra Winger, and Gina Rodriguez. Those are some all-star performers. I mean, the acting here is definitely on point. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything, but this movie does surround the life of Old Dolio, who is played by Evan Rachel Wood. She's a 26-year-old woman whose life is turned upside down as she is now a part of this con that her family's trying to run because they want to go ahead, steal money, and pay rent. They're basically just habitual liars, and they're paranoid, and they will always be stealing things for the rest of their life. Even if they had all the money in the world, they'd still want more. This is just the life that Old Dolio was thrown into until she meets Melanie, who is played by Gina Rodriguez, and then things get very interesting and we'll start to learn a little bit more about Old Dolio. Alrighty, guys, so let's start with what really worked with Kajillionaire, and that's right at the top with Evan Rachel Wood and Gina Rodriguez. Evan Rachel Wood is such a great actress. I've loved her in everything I've seen. I loved Westworld too. I haven't really caught up with the last season, but what I will tell you is that Evan Rachel Wood as Old Dolio really captures this awkward vibe, but also this character who is very ominous sometimes, and there are layers you want to peel back, and the film does a good job at exploring why she is the way she is. She's never gotten all that tender love and affection from her family, and she's longing for some sense of normalcy. There are even these moments where she visits parenting classes because, to me, she wants to experience the love of what it might be to care for a child, and well, the love she didn't get as a child either. It's very interesting. And of course, this is a character who's been thrusted into this con that her parents are running to try and steal money, so she's not viewed as their daughter, but rather as an asset. And Evan Rachel Wood does an amazing job at getting lost in this role. Sometimes she's totally unrecognizable. Her voice is masked. This is not a typical Evan Rachel Wood performance, and I mean that in a good way. And then there's her co-star Gina Rodriguez, who I haven't seen in much of anything since the controversy that she was a part of over the past year, but I was really interested to see if she could still bring a good on-screen presence. Spoiler alert, she definitely does, and I am in love with how she was able to just work this script, and to me she actually commanded the screen the best outside of Evan Rachel Wood. Immediately when she was thrusted onto the scene, you could just tell she was killing it with her comedy. The comedic timing was almost perfect, and there was a very natural flowing cadence in her conversations. And of course her character Melanie gets caught up in this scheme as well, so it is just another layer to the story that kept me on the hook. Now, in terms of the movie as a whole, outside of our two leads, Kajillionaire is definitely an indie movie to its core. It is bare bones, it isn't flashy, there's a very weird pacing to it that we'll talk about even more in a little bit, but it's so offbeat. The reason why this movie is as good as it is in some moments is because it doesn't try to be flashy. It matches the personality of Old Dolio, awkward and definitely uninteresting sometimes. And of course, Miranda July really just understands that this movie isn't going to be usual, so she's like, let's just put both our feet into the pool, and it's going to be weird, it's going to get kind of dark sometimes, and the comedy is not going to be typical, and that's okay for Kajillionaire. And I'd be a fool if I didn't talk about Richard Jenkins and Debra Winger, who are so funny together in this movie. Most moments are really good because of them. Together, they are just a great duo. Richard Jenkins has been amazing for years. I love how both of them are paranoid. The movie makes them very paranoid parents. Whenever there's a tremor or an earthquake in Cali, they always tell themselves, don't touch anything, it's electrified, this could be the big one. It's the paranoid language that you get used to hearing throughout the film, and they are just spreading that to their daughter. It's very, very weird sometimes. Alrighty, so I know I'm gushing over our acting here, and I do like the vibe for the most part in this film, but Kajillionaire is far from perfect, guys. The offbeat pacing of the movie, like I just mentioned a little while ago, unfortunately drags the film down and sometimes way too much. The second half of this movie is, oh boy, it is tough to get through because the beginning is good. The ending is fine. It's just the middle, the meat of the film, that sometimes just lingers on and on. It drags, and sometimes you spend so much time in one place that eventually I just lose interest. I felt that there was a lack of direction like we had seen in the first half an hour of this movie. Even the first 45 minutes, there was something definitely missing, and maybe that was just the film just diving a little bit more into old Dolio. I get that they wanted to talk about the parents and display a lot of their interactions, but I don't know, maybe the movie needed to do a little bit better at just diving into that instead of the scheme. And honestly, there is one scene in particular that just lost me. They go to an old man's house, he's on his deathbed, and they're trying to find a checkbook. That's all I'll say. And there's a redeeming factor there, but honestly, it's overshadowed by how much time we spend in this one setting. It's boring. The walls are just basic. Everything is cluttered. It doesn't really, to me, do anything. It doesn't speak to me. It doesn't seem like there's a purpose for the scene. I know there probably is, but there's a lack of direction because there is no flow there. And then sometimes there are long conversations happening either on screen or off screen, and I think to myself, can we just move on? So there is one conversation in particular that involves two of our leads, and they're talking about, I don't know, existential crises and their personal issues with one another, and they're staring up, I guess, at the ceiling, but then the ceiling turns into a constellation. So I have to ask myself, why am I spending, maybe 5-8 minutes? They feel like really long, 5 or 8 minutes, at these stars and hearing them speak. I'd rather see the emotion. I want to see old Dolio yelling. I want to see Melanie receiving it. I don't know why the director chose to go that route, but for me it didn't work. And while Kajillionaire is purposefully awkward, of course, it's not meant to be usual. Again, unusual is the word for this film. Sometimes I just got tired of the same scenarios happening over and over again. The repetition was a little much. It was just boring to me. So overall, you guys, Kajillionaire, for all of the good it delivers with Gina Rodriguez and Evan Rachel Wood, I think it falls flat in too many different areas for me to say this is a very good movie. It's solid, of course, in some moments, especially in the beginning and the end, but it's that middle chunk of the movie that really turned me off. Now listen, I don't hate this movie, I just don't love it either, so it's very okay. Kajillionaire is well shot, and I definitely would say that director Miranda has a vision for this film. There are moments that made me laugh too. It's not completely a waste of time, but you guys need to temper your expectations. If you come into this thinking you're going to get a typical coming-of-age film that is supposed to be funny all the time, and maybe the scheming and the con, that subplot will bring you some sort of drama and tension, you're going to be mistaken. But if you come in expecting something that's definitely unusual, the pacing is off, and sometimes it might just linger a little too much, you might not be completely disappointed. But for me, this is definitely a movie that unfortunately doesn't really sit in my mind, and I tell myself, oh, this is a good time. I liked it, I just didn't really love it. So guys, if I had to rate Kajillionaire, probably give it a 3 out of 5 stars, but I want to know what you would rate it. I want to know what you think of this movie if you see it, and if you haven't seen it, are you going to watch it? So get loud in the comments below and let me know if you're going to check it out this weekend on Premium Video on Demand. Go ahead and smash that like button, and if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and tap on the bell so you don't miss out on reviews and reactions just like this. You guys are amazing. I love your support, and again, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go work on how to become a Kajillionaire. I don't know how it's possible. Alrighty guys, so let's make this week great, and I'll catch you at the next screening.